The other day, I was watching a video by a real estate entrepreneur, Grant Cardone, and he talked about money. And he said, here are the three things you need to know about money. And as I was watching it, I found it very elegant. Now, elegance is the confluence of efficiency and effectiveness. When you have something that is efficient and when you have something that is effective, we call that elegance. And so he broke it down into three simple things that you must know about money. And as I was watching, I found it very profound. And as I was thinking about it, it applies to relationships. And since I'm in the industry, in the profession that I'm in, I thought I'd share those ideas with you. And he talked about before you learn the first three things that you must know about money, he said, there are two things about money. It's simple and it's plentiful. And I thought that was really good. Simple and plentiful. Now, a lot of people complicate things, especially relationships. And it's not because relationships are complicated. Relationships are very simple. It's just they have complicated ideas about relationships. And so for myself, I want to share with you these ideas. Firstly, recognizing that a relationship is not merely a sexual one. A relationship is not merely a romantic one. A relationship is anything you have with anyone. A relationship is how you interact and interface with anybody. My relationship with my colleagues are that they are my colleagues and we interact in very professional manners. Some of them become significant enough that I interact with them, I consider them as friends, and so I interact with them in that way. Some people I interact with as friends, and so I interact with them in that way, and some people are significant enough to me, I interact with them in more significant ways. And that is our relationship, how we relate with each other. And so don't inhibit yourself in thinking that a relationship is merely a sexual or romantic one. A relationship is how you interact and interface with people. And once you think about it that way, there are two things that occur. Number one is that you get to see everything, all of your interactions as relationships, and you get to build it as significant as you want. Perhaps you can just see all the relationships. You have this model in your mind. I'll explain this word modeling because I'll explain it again later. A model is like when you look at a globe and when you look at it in relation to the sun and you look at it in relation to Mars and Saturn and Jupiter and all the other planets, you're not actually looking at the planet Earth and you're not actually looking at the sun. You're actually looking at the model of the solar system. And so you can call it protocol, you can call it model, but the model that I have when it comes to relationships is that it's very simple. Everybody begins as insignificant until they become significant. In other words, I don't set out and meet people or meet women and say this woman is girlfriend or wife material or whatever the case is, or friend material, and I delineate between the two. So people make a delineation. They say this person is either friend material or boyfriend, girlfriend material. And so I say, nobody starts off as that significant. I can never guess anybody would be that sort of material until they prove themselves to me that they are that way. Nobody can earn your trust immediately. They can demonstrate what trust that they can earn, that they can deserve in any moment. And that can change at any time. And so everybody to me begins as friends, and that's my model of relationship. Someone's insignificant until they become significant to me. And then I relate with them in the way that we interact and interface with each other. And that relationship either becomes more significant or less significant. A friendship becomes a more significant friendship or a less significant friendship, but nonetheless, it always begins as friends, whether it's a female or a male. Some relationships, they grow into really significant relationships, and some relationships they grow into intrinsic relationships where their happiness is really intrinsic to mine. And some relationships, they become your best friends. But nobody becomes best friend overnight. And so relationships are very simple. And I'll explain that more when I explain the three things. The second thing is plentiful. You don't have a scarcity of resources when it comes to relationships. Now, Grant Cardone said that money is plentiful, money is everywhere, and that's true. Money is everywhere. It's only a matter of how you go about the three things that he talked about. And so are relationships. There are as many people, there are about 7.42 billion people in the planet as I speak right now. There are plentiful of people that you could be building relationships with. Why are you stuck with one awful one? So the three things that you must know about relationships. Going back to Grant Cardone, he said the three things that you must know about money are: number one, you must get it. Simple, right? Get it. Most people don't know how to get the money. Most people don't have the philosophy that money is to be gotten from people. Where do money come from? Money comes from people. And so what skill must you have? The skill you must have so that you can get money from people is you must provide enough value that they would gladly exchange their money for the value you provide, the service or the product. What value do you provide so that you can influence and persuade anyone to give you money when you need it? What is your getting money skill? And so, going back to relationships, what is your getting relationship skill? The number one thing you must learn about relationship is learn how to get it. Learn how to get a relationship. What is your model of relationship when it comes to building one? Do you have one? Do you have a model of relationship in which when you meet someone new, how do you go about building a relationship with them? Or do you not even think about that? First of all, when you meet someone new, you build a relationship with them right away. And the relationship is how you interact and interface with each other. But if you go about it purposefully, in module 4 in the Great Relationships University online course, which I promote, on the lesson number 7, I talked about networking, one of the powerful skills to have. And in there, I talked about my model of networking. So for you to get the relationship, let me give you an example. Let's say a woman is newly divorced, newly broken up with her partner, and she says, I want a relationship. I want a partner. She wants a relationship, and so she meets with a few men. And then she says, man, I can't find anybody good. Or somebody starts a business and he or she says, man, I don't have any good relationships with very influential people. What am I going to do with my business? How am I going to grow my business? And the reason why is because you haven't built your network. You're trying to build a real estate business, but you haven't built a network. Well, you can start from zero, and you can start from the people you know. That is your network. You do have a network, you just haven't looked at it as a network. You haven't looked at it as a network of relationships. And so from here forward, when you look at your relationship that you're building what? You're building a network of relationships. And so as you become a more valuable person, as you provide a service that you imagine that they might happily exchange value with, then you now have a valuable network that you can reach upon whenever you need it. Networking is an incredibly important skill. So how do you get a relationship? Do you have a model? My model, I explained to you, is a very simple one, is that someone is insignificant until they become significant to me, up to which then I build that relationship. And I have a model, which I talked about in the Great Relationships University, and the 5th module, the 7th lesson. Check it out, it's really good. It's a 1-hour training on networking. Is that I put them in a funnel. When you introduce somebody to yourself and you connect with them via social media. Now, it wasn't very long ago when you connected with somebody and you introduced them to your social media. It was really awkward and really weird, especially when you encountered and where you were networking with older people. Younger people, they're very open to connecting with you on social media, but older people back then, it was kind of awkward. Fast forward to now, everyone and your grandmother has social media. And it's not at all far-fetched. In fact, it's expected that you have social media, otherwise you'd be looked at as kind of awkward, kind of weird if you don't have social media. In fact, why would you do business with somebody who doesn't have social media? In the aspect of business, which is important. If you were, for example, a business owner, you would like for somebody you hire to have a social media so you can, number one, you know their personality, what they're like and what they're into. At the very least, have LinkedIn so they can show their professional prowess. And it's kind of awkward for someone. Why is somebody so antisocial that they don't have a social media? Now, I understand that some people have good reasons not to have social media. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying, in the perspective of others, it's kind of weird for somebody not to have social media. So when you interact, when you build new relationships with people, you connect them to your social media. It's a very common thing, and it's very, people look to it. They ask for social media right away. It's not at all awkward. And they see who you are as a person. And they ask themselves, or they think to themselves a couple of things. They think, should I add this person because they have value? They would add value to my life, to my social media. When I look at their feed, is their feed something valuable that I can look at? Something that makes me feel better about my world? Something that is a value add to my life by adding them on my social media? Or are they not? Are they posting things that are hateful, that are negative, that are pessimistic? And would I rather not connect with them on social media? So now, when you build out your social media, when you look at your relationships in this way, you start acquiring more and more relationships. And I'll talk about that when we go to number 2. Number 2 is, going back to Grant Cardone, he said, number 1, you got to get the money. Number 2 is you got to keep the money. See, money, it's not about how much you make, it's about how much you keep. You can make all the money you want, but if you're taxed 70% and you keep 30%, that's not very good. Now, if you make all the money you want and then you're taxed, you play the tax law, you hire a tax strategist, or you strategize your tax yourself, and then you pay 20% in taxes. Now that's much better. Or you have a very two-dimensional budget. There's a other name for it. You only have an asset and liability format or model of financing, and you only have an income, and you only have a liability. You don't have assets. You don't have the column liabilities, and so the world becomes very small for you. The world of finances becomes very small because you only have income and you only have liabilities. People that have good financial ethics or good financial protocols, they add a balance sheet, add something to their balance sheet, and it's called the assets and liabilities, and they increase their assets and they decrease their liabilities as much as possible. And in fact, some assets are tax deductible and some assets help you with your taxes. You get to keep more of your money. So going back to relationships, you got to keep the relationships. What is your ability? Now, if you are meeting, there are a lot of these people who call themselves pickup artists. Now, I despise pickup artists because they're essentially con artists in the sexual prowess, sexual domain. What they do is they're good at picking up either women or men, and they essentially promise them something that they're not prepared to provide in the future. They pretend to be someone they're not so as to impress the other person and impress upon them that if they connect with them, if they go to bed with them, that they will provide them a sense of security in the future, whether or not they actually provide it or not. And whether or not they're the person that they say they are or not, so as long as they just get them to bed. I'm not saying all pickup artists are like that, but that's just the majority of the pickup artist's mindset. And so perhaps you are so eloquent and you are so vibrational and you are so influential as to make relationships very easily. But how are you, how valuable, and how worthwhile are you as a person? Who are you as a person so that you attract them and keep them as a relationship to you? There are some people who are so heinous and so unattractive, their personality-wise, not their look-wise. They may look attractive, but be completely unattractive as a person, who can get a relationship and never keep them. Whether it's professional, whether it's social, whether it's personal, whether it's intimate and sexual. Are you worthwhile? Are you a worthwhile person? Have you worked on yourself enough? Have you worked on your psychology enough so as to be a worthwhile individual to be around? Going back to Grant Cardone, number 3, he said, the third thing you must do with your money. Number 1, you must get it. Number 2, you must keep it. And number 3, you must multiply it. There's this book which talks about this very smart individual who has gone away. And he had 3 servants which he trusted. And he said, I will give you this coin, which was worth a lot. I will give each of you coin. And when I come back, I would like to know what you've done with the coin. And when this very smart individual, he came back from his travels, don't know how long, he looked upon the 3 individuals and he asked them what they did with the money. The first individual said, look, I kept the money. I kept the value. I kept the treasure. I kept the coin. And then the smart individual, he said, get that coin away from his hands. The second individual, he asked, what did you do with the coin? He said, I doubled the coin. I doubled the treasure. I doubled the asset, the value. And then he said, give him more of that coin. And then he asked the third individual and he said, I multiplied the coin to 10 times its worth. And so the smart individual said, give him more of this value. Give him more of this coin. First, with money, you must learn how to get it. Number 2, you must learn how to keep it. And number 3, you must learn how to multiply it. So let's go back to relationships. You must get it. You must know how to get the relationship. You must know how to keep relationships. You must be so worthwhile as to keep relationships and know how to multiply it. How do you know? How do you multiply your relationship? I will leave you with this one note, this one mindset for you to think about and apply into your life, which will serve you very well. And here's what I live by. I encourage you to live a life that you enjoy, and as a result, attract to you people that align with you. You see, you want to be such a worthwhile person that people gravitate towards you, and it's not only because of your mass. Be such a worthwhile person, such a valuable person in the eyes of others, not merely because you have to be valuable, you have to be entertaining, you have to be resourceful. It's not that. It's because you're a person that loves people and loves dealing with people and loves helping people. The fastest way for you to feel good about yourself, and mark my words, there's nothing more important in this world than how you feel about you. And the fastest way for you to feel great about yourself is to help other people who need it. Presuming you like helping. The fastest way for you to feel good about yourself is to help others. In fact, you can't not feel good about yourself. You can't be depressed when you are looking towards helping other people. You can't be depressed and happy helping other people at the same time. It's impossible. And so for you to multiply your relationships, for you to attract to you a lot of great relationships, the thing you have to be is worthwhile. Are you a worthwhile person? And I'll leave you with this. Number 1 is that live a life that you enjoy. And as a result, because of your passion for life, you will attract to you people that align with you. And number 2, anything worth getting doesn't require hurrying. Anything worthwhile doesn't require you getting it immediately. And as long as you deserve it, you will get plenty of it.